Hi everyone, in today's video I'm gonna be comparing two popular robot vacuums. I'm gonna be talking about Roborock Q Revo and Ecovacs T20 Omni. I've been testing both robot vacuums for quite some time now and I'm ready to finally compare them. You guys been asking me for a comparison for a while now, so it's finally here and I have my notes here so I won't forget anything. First, I'm gonna talk about the features and things that both robot vacuums do well. So both robot vacuums have self-washing mopping stations, which obviously is one of the best things available. That was one of the reasons why I upgraded my Roborock S7. I really wanted a self-washing station. It's a game changer. If you have a robot vacuum without a self-washing station, it's time to upgrade. You're gonna notice a difference. So both robot vacuums have that. They also mop and vacuum at the same time, but you have the option to customize in the app if you want your robot vacuum to just mop or do one vacuum first and then mop. There is a lot of customization and it's available in the app for both robot vacuums. Q Revo as well as T20 Omni have rubber cleaning brushes which are superior to the ones that have bristles. If you have a dog or if you have long hair, you really want the rubber brushes because the ones with bristles get all the hair tangled insanely and it's just a pain, really. Honestly, I wouldn't buy another robot vacuum that wouldn't have a just plain rubber brush. If there are bristles on it, it's just not gonna work for me. I have long hair and I lose a lot of it all over the house, and Q Revo is just much better at sucking those hair, especially long hair, because unfortunately T20 Omni would get all my hair stuck inside brushes. Don't know why, I don't know how, but unfortunately it just doesn't work. Q Revo is much better at it. So if you're wondering which robot would perform better at vacuuming long hair, Q Revo, 100%. Okay, and now I'm gonna go over pros of T20 Omni and then I'm gonna move to Q Revo. So T20 Omni, obviously the biggest feature I would say is the hot water washing station. There is only one other robot vacuum on the market that does it and it's Ecovacs X2, I believe. So there are only two robot vacuums on the market that have that feature and it is obviously amazing. Obviously hot water will wash your mopping pads better than if you just use cold water, but in reality it doesn't work that well for stains. Like I've noticed, I've been comparing both robot vacuums. I've been staining my floors with hot sauces, with coffee stains, with oil stains. And what I've noticed is that Q Revo surprisingly did as well as T20 Omni at removing all those stains. So that was surprising for me, but yeah, they both work amazingly well at removing stains. So yeah, the only thing I've noticed with T20 Omni is that it did do much better job at removing smells from the mopping pads. So because it was washing the mopping pads in the hot water, like when I washed the mopping pads in the station and I lifted, smelled it, no smell at all. With the Q Revo, I had to wash the mopping pads one more time to get rid of the smell. And I think it was because I was using the light cleaning setting in the app. You can customize it. So if you want your robot to go back to the station more often, if you want, basically, there's a washing mode and I selected light and I think that's why it just didn't do as good of a job at removing the smell. But I'm pretty sure the hot water also helps. So yeah, I would say it only works for mostly the mopping pads. Both robot vacuums remove stains from floor as well. But yeah, I would be interested to see an upgraded Q Revo with hot washing mopping station. That would be amazing. But yeah, it's honestly, in reality, they both perform as well. Okay, and one con for the T20 Omni compared to Q Revo is that it doesn't have removable washing tray, and that's unfortunately a big con because with the Q Revo, I just take the tray out, I clean it in the sink, and it's spotless clean in seconds, while with the T20 Omni, you gotta use the brush, you gotta scrub it, and it's honestly not that big of a deal, but it is kind of a headache. It is just more mess and it takes longer to clean. So I wish T20 Omni had removable washing tray. It's much better. Also, the T20 Omni comes with just one dust bag bin that is already installed in the station. The Q Revo surprisingly comes with two dustbin bags. One is installed and one is just extra. It's a nice thing. I've been running my Q Revo for more than 200 cycles, and the dustbin bag is still like almost full, but not there, so it is lasting a very long time. The T20 Omni has a bigger, like bulkier charging and washing station. The Q Revo has a smaller washing station, and in my personal opinion, it does look better, but again, it's a personal choice. But Q Revo is technically smaller, so just something to keep in mind. The T20 Omni station is wider, but Q Revo station is not as wide, and T20 Omni has 4-liter capacity for both water tanks versus Q Revo has 5 liters capacity. So you get a lot more with Q Revo. You don't have to change the water tanks so much, you don't have to empty the dirty water bin so much. So I definitely prefer that. And it's funny because like technically T20 station is bigger, but the capacity of the water tanks is smaller, so something to keep in mind. I definitely prefer Q Revo when it comes to that. But there is an advantage when it comes to suction power. T20 Omni has slightly higher suction power at 6,000 PA versus 5,500 PA, so it's slightly higher, but in reality, I actually haven't noticed a difference. Both robot vacuums perform pretty well at picking up any debris, so technically, even though you will see that T20 has a higher suction power, you won't really notice a difference. But I still prefer the Q Revo because it was able to clean all the hair from the floor, while T20 Omni would get insanely tangled with my hair. Both performed well at picking up very small hair like my pet's fur, but long hair. Q Revo wins, like very big difference. And one more thing, which I don't actually see a lot of people mention, is that Q Revo has an internal water tank that it obviously refills automatically in the station, and then when it's mopping, it basically makes sure that the mopping pads are evenly saturated in water, and T20 Omni doesn't do that. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. You need to send T20 Omni to the station to get the mopping pads wet again, and maybe that's why, you know, the mopping performance is pretty good on Q Revo. I guess the only way to make sure that the T20 Omni mopping pads will be evenly saturated in water is when you make sure to separate all the rooms and that the robot goes back to the station just more often. So with the Omni, you will have to kind of watch the robot and see if the mopping pads are getting dry, and then make sure that the robot goes back to the station. So there's just a lot more maintenance involved with the T20, while Q Revo just does it for you. Like it will refill the mopping pads with water, so you don't have to worry about that. And I like that because for me, I want to have the least of maintenance. I don't want to spend time watching the robot work and like refilling the water and stuff like that. I don't want to be too involved. There is a big con for both robot vacuums, and it's the AI obstacle avoidance. I've noticed with both robot vacuums, it doesn't work great. Like it will recognize a lot more obstacles, things that actually the robot could get closer to and it wouldn't hurt. Unfortunately, whenever I use the function on both robot vacuums, the robot is very, very cautious. Both robots are very cautious, and I've noticed that they skip a lot of areas, and I don't like it. Then I have to make sure to move everything away. Both robot vacuums didn't really get stuck on things, even after I turned off the AI obstacle recognition, whatever it is called. The camera, I believe, would work better, but both robot vacuums don't have the camera built in, unfortunately. So for me, that function just doesn't work well, unfortunately. When it comes to the app, both robot vacuums have pretty like customizable apps, which is nice. I like that I have a lot of control over all the functions, all the settings, but I've noticed that the Ecovacs app is much slower to respond. It just doesn't work as well. It's not very intuitive to use as well. You kind of have to like go and look for things. Maybe because I've been using the Roborock vacuums for a few generations now. Like I had S5, S7, now I have the Q Revo. Maybe because I used to it, it's easier for me to like find everything I need. But I've always preferred the Roborock app. It just always worked so well. It was very fast, very intuitive, and it just offers me a lot of customization that I'm looking for. So yeah, I haven't noticed anything that I miss in that app. Like it has everything I was looking for. So I'm very happy with the app. T20 Omni app is not bad. Like there were some bad apps like I've used in the past, but this one is not the worst, but could be improved, could be faster. But yeah, it still gives you a lot of customization, which I like. So you can still like, for example, set up to vacuum first and then mop, but I still prefer the Q Revo app. Okay, so just a few things that are worth mentioning is that the Dustbin bag on the T20 Omni is slightly bigger. It's 3 liters versus 2.7 liters. In reality, it probably doesn't matter as much. It's a very small difference, but just something to keep in mind. The water tanks are technically smaller, but the Dustbin bag is slightly bigger on the T20 Omni. Okay, and one of the biggest issues that I've noticed with the T20 Omni is the motor and the wheels. So Roborock was always, I've noticed, superior when it comes to climbing over trims and any stuff like that. Like one time Q Revo actually even escaped to balcony. Like there's a huge trim, like that gap, like I think it's actually even bigger. It's a huge gap, like there's a dip, and somehow Q Revo got outside on the balcony and didn't fall, thankfully. It was fine, but still, like that's something I didn't expect any other vacuum to perform, but Q Revo was able to just really climb. And that obviously is a great thing because Q Revo doesn't have any issues going to the bathroom, like meaning go clean the bathroom, but it's funny because Ecovacs T20 Omni, I've noticed that has a very hard time climbing over a small trim. Like I was surprised to see that none of the other vacuums had issue with the bathroom here in this apartment because it's a small trim. Like there are some trims that have really steep trim, and like mine's like that. It's not that big, yet T20 Omni needs a little push to go over that trim and vacuum and mop the bathroom, which is kind of a pain. I didn't expect it, but it seems T20 Omni is lower to the ground than Q Revo. So I think that's why possibly it's the problem. Maybe it's not even the motor and the wheels, although I would definitely say the motor and the wheels on the Q Revo, they seem higher quality. Something to think about. But because T20 Omni is lower to the ground than Q Revo, technically it lifts the mops slightly lower. Like if you compare the Q Revo, whenever it has fully lifted mopping pads, they sit higher than on the T20 Omni. So if you're worried about getting your carpet wet when you vacuum your carpets and mopping the floors, Q Revo will perform better in those situations, especially if you have medium or high pile carpets. I was surprised to see that because like one of the things that were advertised for T20 Omni is that, oh, it has super high lift for mopping pads, and in reality, Q Revo was better. It was just so surprising to see. I didn't expect it, but when I compared, Q Revo was just like lifting the mopping pads much higher. So yeah, I don't have a lot of carpets in my apartment. I only have one on balcony, but if you have a carpets, Q Revo will be much better at just making sure that you're not gonna get your carpet stained with water. And one other thing, when it comes to navigation, I've noticed that Both robots, well, actually Q Revo was slightly faster at mapping the whole place. T20 Omni still did a good job, like it didn't have to go to wall to scan the whole apartment. Q Revo was slightly faster at it, but then when it comes to vacuuming and mopping, I've noticed Q Revo is much faster. It does cover more area. So yeah, just slightly better performance when it comes to navigation. Roborock has always been like amazing at navigation, so I'm not surprised here. But yeah, the other thing is loudness. So I talk about it a lot because it's something that it is important to me, how loud the vacuum is, how loud the self-emptying and washing station is. So when it comes to T20 Omni, I was hoping it would be quieter than Q Revo, and it's not. It's actually much louder. I would compare it to like Roborock S7 or even louder, honestly. Even when it rolls, like even when it's not vacuum, just like, you know, rolling back to the station, it's quite loud.
Charging.
So again, Q Revo wins. The quietest robot vacuum, I still would say it's Narwhal, but Q Revo is just amazing. It's still quieter than any other robot vacuums that I've tested. Let's talk about the price, because like that's a big one. T20 Omni is quite pricey for what it is, for the quality, for the functions, all the features, performance. I would say it's slightly overpriced. If you get it on sale, I would say it's worth it, but still, the Q Revo is like one of the cheapest robot vacuums with station available currently, and I'm amazed at how well it performs, first of all, and like how good quality it is, because I didn't know what to expect first. Like I was like, okay, it's more expensive than any other robot vacuums that I bought in the past, but then, you know, it is much cheaper than other robot vacuums with stations. So I didn't know what to expect. I was worried it would be like lower quality. Oh, it's the cheaper model. Roborock made like, you know, kind of lower class robot vacuums, and you know, I was worried that it would show that it is cheaper, but it does not. It does not show. It's incredible. Like the quality, the performance, navigation, it's just superior to a lot of other robot vacuums. And in my personal opinion, after using both robot vacuums for quite some time, I can tell I personally prefer the Q Revo for many reasons, a lot of that I've mentioned in this video, but it's just better. I looked at both robot vacuums like really up close. I have high attention to detail, and I noticed small little things that probably a lot of people don't care about, but for me, like, it matters. And just the build quality is honestly much higher than on the T20 Omni. That is a much more expensive robot vacuum, which was a shocker to me. I didn't expect it when I unboxed the T20 Omni and started using it. I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel as luxurious as Roborock, and it costs a lot more money. Like, what? But yeah, Roborock Q Revo, it just feels much more luxurious, even though it's one of the cheapest Roborock vacuums right now. I have both robot vacuums and I still prefer to use the Q Revo. It's honestly kind of a hassle to use T20 Omni because it just doesn't work as well. And I hate pulling all the hair out of the side brushes. I just hate it, you know? I want the vacuum to do its job, and it's just a lot more satisfying to use the Q Revo. The only thing which I like about T20 Omni over Q Revo is the transparent dirty water bin, because I can see how dirty the water is. I hate using sink to flash the water. Like, it's not advisable. Like, you should just use your toilet, and that's what I use all the time. I just empty the dirty water bin to the toilet. Obviously didn't want to show you that because, you know, some people get grossed out. But yeah, I don't really use the sink, so I don't know, it's just a lot more satisfying for me to see, you know, in the bin, like how dirty the water is. It's a lot easier for me to know, like, okay, the water is very dirty, so I should probably run the Q Revo one more time. I just never know. So yeah, that's one super tiny con of the Q Revo, but a part of it, like, it looks great, it works great, it's very high quality. I'm not worried about it breaking. Actually, I had a situation with my Roborock 7 after 2 years, almost 3 years. I gave the robot to my parents and the wheel broke. What happened is, like, obviously it was an older robot vacuum, but I never had any issues with it. But after, you know, 3 years after I moved that robot vacuum to a different apartment with a pretty big drop, like the drop in the bathroom between hardwood and tile is like that big. So the robot really had to climb over that trim, and what happened after multiple cycles, that wheel broke because it really needed that push, and I serviced it, and the guy who was fixing it, very quick fix, it was just wheel replacement, which cost actually not that much. But the guy told me, like, if you have a big climb for the robot vacuums, you have to build a ramp or just move the robot to that room and let it do its job. Because if you have that issue, it will come back, like the wheel probably will break again, because like if the climb is too high, obviously the motor will have to get hot to work the way out. So something to keep in mind if you have super big climb. But honestly, Q Revo works so well, I don't think it's gonna break. Old Roborock that I had was, first of all, old, out of warranty, and yeah, it was a new place, new apartment with a huge climb. So I think these three things made a difference. I think if it would be a brand new robot, probably it would take longer to break over that climb. Anyhow, that's my review, that's my comparison. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Which robot vacuum do you prefer? I'm just sharing my honest thoughts in comparison after testing both robot vacuums thoroughly, and I hope you're gonna make the decision that will make you happy. I'm personally very happy with Q Revo the most. I still can't get over how much cheaper the robot is compared to some other robot vacuums and how well it performs. I would say it's the best deal out there. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to check out the links below. It helps out my channel, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye bye!